All right, welcome to a Deck Tech here. My name is Corey Baumeister, and I am joined by Hall of Famer Luis Scott-Vargas. How you doing, LSV?
I'm doing great. Really looking forward to playing in the set championship.
Yeah, I would be looking forward to playing this deck too, because it is a sweet one. So let's just dive right in. You are playing Orzhov Venture. I didn't think I would be saying venture into the dungeon and Luis Scott-Vargas in the same sentence. So first, let's take a look at slide one, which is the venture cards, and tell me a little bit about these.
In one of the recent Alchemy updates, a lot of the venture cards got buffed. That took the mechanic from something that didn't see a whole lot of constructed play to something that our team actually got pretty interested in.
I mean, just the precipitous drop being a little bit cheaper and Triumphant Adventure getting a buff as well was just enough to give this shell some new life.
Yeah, precipitous drop especially, since that's actually one of the more marginal cards in the deck, but at 2 mana, it's just like exactly good enough to see play. Triumphant Adventure getting that second point of power. And then combined with the fact that Nadar is just a pretty strong card if you're doing the whole venture thing, and now has some friends to venture with.
All right, let's get to the dungeons now. We have the 3 different dungeons. Is there a specific one that you go for? Just try to get through them as fast as possible, or what's your plan?
I imagine, because my whole team's playing the deck, that you will see the Lost Mine of Phandelver being the dungeon ventured into above 90% of the time. It gets you the most up front and has a pretty quick completion bonus. But if you're settled in for a long game, you can go in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and then sometimes you go into the Tomb of Horrors just because you really want to pressure the opponent and the life loss matters.
Perfect. So let's head into the next slide here, because it's not all venture mechanics when it comes to this. You have a bunch of other disruptive creatures. Let's first talk about Archon of Emiria. You're just playing 4 in the main deck.
Archon of Emiria is actually why we're playing this deck, because against the Runes deck, Naya Runes, which we expect to be the most popular deck, you could probably tell me if that's true, it makes it so almost all their lands come into play tapped, and they can only play 1 spell a turn. It disrupts their whole combo, makes Showdown of the Scalds a lot less impressive. So Archon of Emiria is the best card against them and frequently a worst card in other matchups, but we think that's worth it for the metagame.
And then City Stalker Connoisseur is probably one of the more powerful cards just in Alchemy in general.
The fact that it's good against the Runes deck, because again, it strips their Showdown out of their hand, that's one of their most important cards, and it can block a big runed up whatever, but also is very strong against control decks. And the Death Touch body is just pretty effective against creature decks. It's just an overall very powerful card. It's almost always a guaranteed 2-for-1.
Okay, perfect. And then we see Velki, which you can just cast as a 2-drop, but you can also just get up to 7 mana, and there's not a lot of red sources. And we were kind of contemplating, how do you cast this card? But I suppose a lot of the dungeons contain giving you a treasure to kind of ramp that out, huh?
The treasure is actually why Velki is in the deck. It's a card that is good on turn 2. Yeah, okay on turn 2, but really powerful on 7 mana. We've got a couple lands that can produce red, but mostly it's just that treasure that gets you there with not only the red, but also a turn ahead of schedule. And decks like this tend to like disrupt the opponent a bunch and then kind of run out of steam. Valky's our solution to that problem.
So now let's go to some of these heavier hitters, Luis. And now we have Intrepid Adversary, a nice one-of here to pump your team. And Lysaea Forgotten Archangel is a new one that we haven't seen in a while. But the main one I want to talk about is the Wandering Emperor. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Wandering Emperor is fantastic. You're going to see, her showing up in blue-white control. Obviously, we're playing her here. Just the fact that you get that first activation at instant speed, whether that's just to -2 to kill a big attacker, make a samurai to block, whatever it is you need, and then provide value over time. It's just a fantastic card, a good closer, a good defensive card, and an instant so that we can play on their turn with Archon of Emiria as well.
Yeah, not a bad card to exile a ruined up creature as well at instant speed. That seems pretty sweet. So let's check out this last slide here, and this is just kind of your spells. This is kind of the glue that holds the deck together. The main thing I really want to talk about this, I like the one-of removals, Hogger Mauling is great, but the 3 Duress in the main deck, that's really saying something about Alchemy. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Duress is really strong against the Runes deck. We basically came from the perspective of, if we can beat Runes and we at least think we're okay against everything else, then that'll be fine, because we just expect there to be a ton of Naya Runes. It's such a powerful, strong deck. Having Duresses in the deck to take timely Rune or a Showdown is good, and then they do help plenty against control. They're at their weakest against aggressive decks, so that's the card that gets boarded out pretty quickly in those matchups.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Luis, I cannot wait to see this deck in action. It looks incredible. So, everyone, this is Luis Scott-Vargas, one of the best Magic players of all times, playing Orzhov Venture.